Apple's lineup of MacBook Pros are without a doubt the most powerful laptops that money can buy when it comes to content creation and high-end productivity and workflow. There is nothing better on the market right now. And have they just got even more powerful? Well, Apple have just had a press event where they have announced their new lineup of M3 chips and their new lineup of M3 MacBook Pros. So is it as good as we think it is? Well, kind of. It was quite a surprise event because nobody thought this was going to happen. Everybody thought we was going to be waiting until the end of November or even January for their new lineup of chips. But they did an announcement at 5 PM Pacific time on the 30th of October 2023 to announce their new lineup of chips. And it's the latest announcement they've ever done. In a nutshell, they haven't changed anything about the MacBook Pro. It's exactly the same. So if you're thinking about getting an M2 MacBook Pro or an M3 MacBook Pro, just bear in mind that the only thing that's different is the chip. There is nothing else that is different. Just bear that in mind. Okay, I've watched this press event and there is nothing else that's different other than color choices. What do I mean by color choices? Well, with the M3 MacBook Pro, they have released a new color choice, which is space black. And when they announced that, I kind of chuckled to myself because they already had space gray with the M2 MacBook Pro, which is basically like a dark gray colored MacBook. Now they've just made it black in line with their new iPhone 15 lineup. So the iPhone 15 Pro comes in space black. I have one here for your reference. This is what space black looks like. And all they have done is color match the MacBook Pro to the new iPhone lineup. So they had space grey before, now they've got space black. It made me laugh because it's pretty much the same colour, just slightly darker. I thought they was going to go with a blue or a purple or something outrageous. How silly of me. They was never going to do that. But all they've done is made it a darker colour. So that is your option. Now with the new M3 lineup of MacBook Pros, the M3 chip is a 3nm chip. Now what that means is that it can do a lot more work whilst drawing less power. It can produce the same amount of work as before, but drawing less power, which means it will save on battery life. So what that means is that the battery life on the M2 MacBook Pro was 18 hours and the M3 MacBook Pro is 22 hours. You get 4 hours on average of battery life. Now that needs to be tested in real world to see what you actually get, but I do think there'll be an increase in battery life because of this new 3nm chip. But ultimately, the MacBook Pro is exactly the same. They didn't change the design. They didn't introduce the dynamic island. They didn't change the screen. I would have liked them to upgrade the screen to have had a standard 120Hz refresh rate and a brighter 2000 nits peak brightness. They didn't include that. They just kept everything exactly the same. So there are ultimately 4 key changes to the MacBook Pro over last year, over the M2 version. And they are these. Number 1, you get the M3 lineup of chips. Now, if you are looking at the M2 lineup from last year, it's roughly about 20% faster. That's the ballpark sort of figure. It varies on the CPU, the GPU, and the neural engine, but ultimately it's roughly about 20% faster than the M2 MacBook Pro. Secondly, this is your battery life. Now, the battery hasn't actually changed, or they haven't actually mentioned that the battery's changed. In their presentation, they didn't mention anything about them upgrading the battery at all. The only thing that's different is the new chip draws less power, so therefore you should have longer battery life. That is what I'm getting from this. This might change in the future press release, but from what I understand, they haven't changed the battery at all. It's just that the chip is drawing less power, so you have more battery life overall. So you'll have the new chip, the battery life. The next one is the color. They're introducing a new space black color. You had space gray last year. You've now got space black, which is in line with their iPhone 15 Pro lineup. And the last thing that they're changing is the fact that you can now get up to 128 gigabits of memory, in unified memory, with the M3 Max chip. So if you get an M3 Pro or an M3 standard chip, you can't get that new maximum standard. It's only available with the M3 Max chip. So those are all the changes. They haven't really changed everything that much. They didn't really change the laptop at all. I kind of expected them to introduce the dynamic island to the MacBook Pro. I'm not really sure what you'd use it for. And I don't really know why you would want it, but I kind of expected them to do that. I expected them to upgrade the screen, as I've already mentioned, but they didn't do that. And the display, I expected them to make it slightly thinner and have a slightly smaller footprint. They didn't do that. They literally have not changed the laptop at all. It is just those 4 changes that I have mentioned already. So you get the new M3 lineup of chips, the new battery life, which isn't actually a new battery, it's just the chips are using less power, so your battery life will be longer. A new color, which is space black, and on the M3 Max chips only, you can get 128 gigabits of unified memory. Now, if I've missed anything, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. This is just my initial reaction to their press release on the M3 MacBook Pros. So let me know. There'll be a lot of future videos coming about this where I'll look at it in much more detail and we will talk about this in much more detail. But let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about it.